but that's not Frida. And she's in the
Get
mid,
through
right?
here.
And
So I
Julie
can get
Corbett Bell, her daughter Julita,
Yeah.
Caperton Cooper.
The names of the two.
Here,
Yes, please.
Atanasia Santa Cruz Hughes, Isabel Hughes Corbett. In the back is Yulie, Elizabeth Corbett Bell Cooper. No, sorry, Caperton Bell. Then Julita is her daughter, and she was Julita Caperton Cooper. There are too many C's, that's the problem with this. And then this is William Corbett Bell in the lower right.
And who are his parents?
Julie,
So that's 5 generations in one picture?
four. Atanasia, Lizzie, and then Julie, and then Julita and Bill were half brother, half sister.
Oh, okay.
They had different fathers. And Julie was a championship golfer.
Had the trophies around there.
And then High was too. And so was Knox. And so it runs in the family. And Knoxie, who took you on the tour, is still playing.
Ruth, over here. I've got a silver chalice, a golf, one of the golf clubs here. Mary Hughes Bell Dietrich won
Yes.
something in 1912.
That's
She won
Aunt
something-
Mary. That's
oh.
the youngest
girl.
Hughes, who was born the same year as my father, 1886.
She know that lived in Petaluma?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not Petaluma. She lived in
Burlingame.
Burlingame and was a wonderful pianist.
Yeah.
She was sent to
Beautiful
a
piano.
musical college in Tennessee. And she and Aunt Jessie and Addie could be, yeah, all went to Belmont. Belmont was the name of the college in Tennessee. Because they were very musical indeed.
There was a Bell girl here, one of the birthdays I did.
Okay, I'm gonna stay here with
And she
Ruth.
looked at the picture, we used to have a.
Want me to go somewhere else?
Go find something else.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right.
This girl went so. Who is a fan?
That nice. Well, I'm glad she was
It
here.
was very nice.
Ruth, is there something you can tell us about this other room over here?
That was
Why
the
don't you take
master
us-
bedroom.
Why don't you take us in there and tell us what you can tell us about that? Chuck is going to take, we're taking all
Well, I'll
this.
tell you, it was an easy room to escape from because it was my bedroom and I used to go out the window.
First floor,
Well, I can tell it now, right?
Right. Now the truth comes out.
And I love this closet.
Isn't that great?
Don't you love that closet?
You'd die for something like this.
I know. And see, it had rods when I lived in this room. But I just thought that was a marvelous closet. There were 2 4-poster mahogany beds in here, the same color as the door. And then a sewing machine. Yes, but grandmother Corbett didn't sew, but she had a little Mexican girl who came in and sewed. And so this was the master bedroom. And
That's Lizzie.
that's Lizzie with, I guess with Hiram, but that's my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
I just hollered into your machine.
Let's see if I think
I was sticking it
tired,
in your
do
face.
And we certainly didn't have air conditioning.
No.
They had a funny plant downstairs that ran water through it, and they blew air over it, and it was sort of early day, swamp cooler. And so it stayed quite light. It really did. It was nice. And grandmother Corbett was a painter. I know I gave her a painting in the dining room that she had done.
Corbett is
Lizzie.
Lizzie, which is one daughter.
She was the oldest of the Hughes girls. Isabel was her given name in the Bible, in the family Bible. But she was always called Lizzie.
And this bathroom, is this,
This was their master bath, and it was changed because my dad had a shower put in the corner because they both had to sit on stools to, take their baths. And so there was a little shower added. They could not step into the tub.
so is this not, this is original tile or not? The black and white, is that original?
No, I think so. I think so. That's the original toilet seat. But I think these are replacements.
Yeah, they said that those came from a house.
Similar to, yeah, I'm sure that's true.
Tiles held up because the original,
Yeah.
which is unbelievable, the tile is last out.
But they were certainly typical. Oh, yeah. See, they didn't move in until 1906. So, that year.
They built this in 1906?
Well, they started building it in 1903. But as was common, in the summer, everything closed down in Tucson because it was so beastly hot. And everybody would go to California, including the workmen and the Corbetts themselves. And so work stopped in the summertime. But the most fun story is the piece of furniture in the dining room. Did they tell you about that?
Only that they couldn't take it out, so they left it there, that's all empty.
But they didn't tell you how it was
Come
made.
along.
Tell us.
Come along, we gotta look at that. You and I must have fallen on the same piece of glass. We have the same scar.
Mine was a golf club.
Oh, mine was a broken glass jar.
Let me give you a sticker, please.
There you go. Should I wait for more
Yeah.
people to come? I'm going to tell you about it. Oh, okay. Okay.
Want to hear a true story?
True story. Oh, are you ready?
You know this.
You do know this story. Knox Corbett was mayor of Tucson, postmaster of Tucson, drove the wagon down to Wymus and back and to Yuma and back. He was a very active man and had come, like Sam, seeking help. His health was poor. He lived in Sumter, South Carolina. And after he'd been here a while and wasn't getting much better, the local doctors, who perhaps weren't even doctors, gave him a purging, and by golly, he had worms, which was something that was very common then. And so he began to gain his health back about 1884. Well, when he was postmaster, a man with no legs came to the post office and said, "I am an honest, hard-working man, and I lost my legs in a railroad accident, and no one will give me a job. I have a wife and 3 children I need to support." And my grandfather, typical of him, said, "Can you sit on a stool?" And the man said, "Well, if you'll put me on it, I can sit on it all day." So Knox called over 2 friends and said, "Put this guy up on a stool and see if he can sort mail." Gave the man a job, and for many years he worked at the downtown post office on Broadway. The Corbetts, Lizzie and Knox, were building this house, and so the man kept asking him about the house and what it was like and who was doing the building and when they were going to move in. So anyway, they chatted about the house, and he said, do you mind if I make something for your new home? I'd really like to repay you for your kindness of giving me a job. And my grandfather said, well, that would be nice, you know, a little something. And so they went off to California, as was their wont every summer. And when they came back, Lizzie came to see how the house was going. And she sent a runner down to the lumber yard and said, tell Mr. Corbett to get back here in a big hurry. And they always called one another Mr. Corbett and Mrs. Corbett, so it is sort of amazing they had any children. Anyway, she said to him, Knox, there's a great big hole in the dining room. What is that? And the contractor was here, and he said, well, this fellow came by with a measurement and everything and said you'd given him the go-ahead to make a present for you. And about then, here came this man, no legs, 2 little boys, to help him unload this off of a burro-drawn wagon. And it fit right in the hole. He had never made anything before in his life. That whole thing is pegged. There's not a nail in it. It is all pegged. And there used to be a little note there that said his name. And Knox, can you remember? I don't remember.
I don't remember his name, but it's off the top of my head.
Like
I'll probably
Jose
think about it 5
Lopez
minutes
or
from now when I'm
something.
gone.
And so anyway, he made his presentation to Mr. and Mrs. Corbett of his little gift. And I don't think he ever made another thing furniture. He finished that. He was exhausted. And it was certainly the nicest thank you note they ever got.
Oh, that's sweet.
And so it's one of a kind. And when my dad sold the house, and he said, well, what do you want? I said, the sideboard is the only thing I want. And I did the same thing when I built a home on Sabino Creek and, you know, made a hole in the wall for it. And then my husband and I went traveling. So I gave it to the art museum, and they had to wait until they restored this building to take over the ownership again. But it's definitely permanent loan to the art museum because that's its home and that's where it lives.
Thank
But
you.
anyway, that's the most interesting story about the furniture of the house. And that is original.
Is there anything else that you know of that's original in the home?
I had a large argument with the administration of the art museum, a very large argument. The furniture used to be Queen Anne, mahogany, with green leather seats. There were 12 chairs around the oval table. My mother needle-pointed 12 chair cushions, and all the furniture in the living room was mahogany. There was one big rocker for Knox, and there was another armchair for Lizzie, and which they filled abundantly. And there was also a piano over in the corner. But there is nothing of the original period even. They would never have had this kind of furniture in their home. Yes, exactly.
This is Tucson.
And the mahogany was considered, you know, something very special. And for a lumber dealer, it was important that the floors and the furniture and the wainscoting and everything were the very best because he wanted to sell it to other residents of the community.
What happened to the original furniture?
Well, the man who bought the house was a lawyer whose fortunes turned down, and he sold it all over. And who knows where it is. And my cousin who died last year in California had the 50th anniversary tea set that was to go on the mahogany sideboard here. And then when she was sent a picture of this piece, she said, no, I won't release it.
How old were Knox and his wife when they moved in this house?
I must say that Christmas and Thanksgiving here were gorgeous, gorgeous affairs, because the table was extended all the way, and there were flowers and candles and 2 or 3 main courses, and even so, the children had to eat in the other room. But it was really beautiful. It looked like, dare I say, Martha Stewart.
Many years prior.
Yes, right.
Ruthie, did you mention why I slept in the front room and Grandma Ruth slept all the way to the back?
No, Dad slept in the middle room.
Yeah, the middle
The
room.
middle room. I slept in the front room. He snored like a Southern Pacific Railroad train. Just had a terrible snore. So, and Knoxie spent a few nights with him, he knows.
That's why nobody traveled with him except me, I think.
Uh-huh.
You couldn't sleep.
Oh, they're funny. But anyway, it was a fun family home, and we had a lot of happy times there. So, there are any other questions? I'll try.
Just give us one quick, okay, Atanasia and Lizzie, and then
Hiram and Bewley,
Corbett, and then you and Knoxie.
Knoxie's father and I,
Knoxie's father and you. And then,
Then
Knox.
myself.
and you're Knox, which Knox are you?
Third.
The third.
Myself.
and the 4th is in the pantry.
Okay.
Hey, Sarah. I'm sorry that pantry won't yield much.
Okay. And then they named their littlest one, their new one.
Hiram.
Not the 5th,
No.
but they.
No,
Hiram
Hiram
Stevens.
Stevens
Hiram
Corbett.
Stevens.
So he's named for my father.
Named for my grandfather, her father,
Right.
I Corbett.
And my younger daughter took the Corbett name when she was divorced. So there are Corbetts from Prescott down to Tucson.
And Douglas.
And you're in
And Douglas.
Colorado now.
And I'm in Colorado.
What about,
So, thank you so much for having an interest in the house.
Oh, thank you for showing us all of this.
It's one of special interest to several of us, and we were thrilled that they restored it.
Now, do you know that somewhere in the back, didn't Petra have an aviary, some kind of a?
Next door.
Next door, that's
Next
where-
door. And she didn't have an aviary.
What was it?
The birds just lived with her. She was called the Bird Lady of Tucson.
Oh.
And the birds just came to her and lived in her oleanders and in her olive trees. And they would fly in her house, and they would come back to her every spring when they had gone down to Mexico for the winter. They'd come back, and she just spoke to birds. And Barbara Stradling, Rick mentioned her. Yes, Barbara Murphy. She used to have to take care of the birds when Petra would go to California with the rest of the family. And Barbara was in college or high school, and she'd end up taking care of the birds whom she didn't like at all. But Petra loved birds, and they just lived
And they
with
had
her.
no children, right, Petra and
No.
Hiram?
They adopted 2, sort of. They took on the care of 2 children who ended up taking all of her money. And she lived on the largesse of Sam and Atanasia. And they supported her through her years. Her husband had a ranch next to the Treat and Tom Hughes and Stevens and Sam Hughes ranches near Fort Crittenden. And there was a terrible drought in oh dear, if this is a test question, I think I've missed it. 1884, más o menos. And Hiram Stevens had bought, against Sam's advice, a thoroughbred cattle from Europe because he felt the Santa Gertrudis would do great things for the local cattle, the ones that lived here all the time, that had learned to get along in the dry weather. And so the drought came, and a runner came up from the ranches warning all the owners that the cows were dying and they had to track water or do something to keep them alive. And so Hiram sent to Nogales for diggers to dig the sand to try and find water under the sand. And there was nothing. The water level was way too low. So he ended up having to put down all these horses and cows that he had just imported from France and England. And that was his whole life savings. And when he came back to town, he was so despondent that he explained to Petra what had happened. And he said, "I'm sorry, but we must go, just like the cows went." And he shot her, and she fell to the ground unconscious. And then he put the pistol in his mouth and shot himself. She didn't die. She was knocked unconscious and had a concussion and lived for 25, 26 more years after that. He had an agonizing 2-week death and died of blood poisoning. And there's a write-up in one of the books about all the people who came to call on Hiram Stevens to say farewell. And it's really very, very touching. And but anyway, Petra was left with nothing. So Sam and Atanasia supported her for 25 years, or as long as she lived.
Did she ever remarry then?
No, she never did. She wore black the entire time.
Wow.
I didn't know her. I have no recollection. I just have stories. I remember Atanasia, and she was your size. And the reason she was so fair was she always wore a hat. And she used to call me Josefina because I was born on St. Joseph's Day. And she was very angry that my Protestant mother named me Ruth. But she always called me Josefina. And she'd say, "Your bonnet, where is your bonnet, Josefina? You will have freckles." And she always wore a hat. Always. And that she never got any sun on her face like we did. And
What was she like? What was her personality like?
very strong.
Atanasia.
She was very strong. She wore long dresses, long sleeves with little white trim on the end and long skirts to the ground. And I would frequently be dropped off there and spend the day with Grandmother Hughes. And she would be out there at 7 in the morning with a watering can, watering and sweeping the dirt in her back garden that was as hard as cement. I mean, you could play jacks on it, it was so hard. And true, she didn't wash dishes, but she sure told those 2 girls in the kitchen how to do it. And the meals were prepared her way by them. They did the manual labor. But Atanasia was a very, well, how could you have raised 15 children and not be kind of strong and positive? She ran that house. She kept the books for Sam. And if you wanted to know how many quarters of beef he had down in the butcher shop, you didn't ask him, you asked her.
Did she have women, servants helping
Oh,
raise
yes.
the children?
Um,
There's 15 of them.
Well, I'm sure they did everything. They did the laundry and the mopping and all that.
What kind of parents were they?
Well, of course, I didn't know Sam. He died in 1918.
But so you didn't know them when the kids were growing up?
No. I knew some of the children as adults, as elderly adults. I knew Mary, the last one, the youngest. Yes, she was lovely. She lived to 102.
Yeah, we went to her
100th
110th birthday.
Yeah.